Good morning, everyone. I'm Elena Panagiotou. I am a marketing and Fintech growth consultant, and I have lived and breathed marketing for the last 10 or so years, mainly within the financial industry, but also within the sphere of crypto projects and e-commerce. And I have had the opportunity to witness branding, technology, regulation, compliance, and creativity collide. Today's panel is titled Marketing, Copyright AI or Not, which is a truly controversial subject, and I think it promises to be a lively and high-energy discussion. In today's and nowadays, AI plays a vital role in most of the marketing functions, whether that's chatbots, any kind of communication with the audience, social media and online presence, and of course, design and analytics. In today's panel, we're going to discuss how AI is being used, what are the risks and compliance involved, how we can use it more responsibly and effectively, whether or not it's a permanent shift, and how it can affect the future of marketing in general. But without further ado, let's introduce our speakers, whom I will ask to introduce yourselves briefly, whilst answering a short warm-up question. So what is one practical way you personally or your teams use AI in your day-to-day work? Alex?
Hi guys, happy to be here. Yeah, my name is Alexis. I'm a founder of Fintech Crafts, which is basically a technology company. So saying that, practically we're dealing with machine learning engineering through our engineers every day, building proprietary products. Now on a personal level, obviously I'm trying to use AI in the sense of, let's say, execution as an orchestrator and not as a composer or I'm setting the tone, I'm setting the content, and I'm utilizing this framework through a skeleton, through AI to orchestrate basically things and provide the result I want. So pretty much that's what I do every day.
Thank you for the brilliant introduction. Hi everyone, I'm very pleased to be here today. My name is Céline Khattar and I'm a content and editorial specialist at Scope Markets. One way I would say I use AI in my day-to-day activities, and when it comes to content specifically, it's just to summarize my day-to-day projects that I'm working on and managing, because it can get overwhelming in our industry. It's a very volatile industry. When it comes to research, I tend to do it manually, but AI definitely helps when it comes to summarizing and just getting the overall idea of what's happening and what has happened over the past 5 to 10 days in the market specifically, yeah.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Alex Rohloff, and I'm the head of commercial at Klarna. For those unfamiliar with our organization, we are a global payments network supporting over 114 million customers and 890,000 merchant partners in 45 markets. I think when I reflect upon my AI usage on a day-to-day basis, I'm really looking at contract renewals as well as customer research. But I think just more broadly speaking, I certainly use it for text-based responses now in lieu of the traditional search engines. So if I have a very specific prompt, I'm always defaulting to the ChatGPTs, the Geminis and such, as opposed to, a Google search that we would historically use.
Hi there, I'm Helen. I represent Financial Markets Media, and we're a marketing agency, specifically for finance. So we have lots of customers and clients who are coming to us asking for help with their strategy and their digital marketing specifically. So when it comes to AI, it really impacts across every single facet of what our clients are asking from us. But on a personal basis, ChatGPT is my best friend. I talk all the time with him about lots of things, but I do only use reactive AI, not responsive AI, and not agentic AI.
I love that. I love all the answers, but I actually resonate with you with my best friend. And I will just keep the personal. I use AI a lot to put in when I prepare a positioning strategy or a brand strategy just to play a little bit with scenario planning, not because I need the last decision from Chat or Gemini or whatever, but because I need to see if I'm missing something, like spot blind spots, play a little bit the devil advocate, because I created an agent that it's actually a very good devil advocate, even gets upset with me and starts shouting and fighting, which I'm enjoying that. And I call it my second pair of eyes. And the second part, because it's a lot of information in the world, and so many shifts and so many changes are happening in all these industries, you can't read all the information, and I can't find out everything about new M&As, new startups, new purchases, new strategies, so on and so forth. So I automated so that everything that happened, actually the instance it happened, I get it in my inbox just to make sure that I'm a step ahead so I can do better for my clients with my team and with my company. And now, if you haven't guessed yet, I'm a business strategist. My name is Raluca-Ioana, and I founded R7. Thank you.
Okay, when you have AI shouting at you, you know it's a true relationship, you know?
Oh, you have no idea. If I could record it and share it, it will go viral. We will laugh a lot.
True reality show.
Yes, true.
And yes, we did manage to have 2 Alexis and Alex and 2 Helen in the same panel, but we will manage. And okay, now that we've seen how everybody is using AI, I would like to zoom out a little bit, because many marketeers are using AI basically just for ChatGPT and nothing more. So I would like to ask you, Alexis, do you think marketeers truly understand AI today, or are we still stuck at a ChatGPT level usage?
I mean, I think we need to take a little bit of a step back. Sorry that I'm changing a little bit the tone here, but I don't think most of us understand fully AI yet. So we need to take into consideration that we are dealing on early stages of AI adoption. We need to differentiate between, for example, what is automation, what is actual ML engineering, what is, I don't know, chatbots compared to LLMs. So there is, due to the fact that it's early stages at this point, even the discussion, even the translation, the way we discuss with each other, whether we are marketeers, and connecting the dots even with the previous panels, which was more technical and open banking, et cetera, even the way we communicate about it, it's still early stages, and it's okay. The key word of what you're asking, I think, is the word usage. So I guess by having any kind of usage and flying hours to whatever of level of understanding we have on AI, or even on the translation of how we understand AI, is the key to what is about to come. So I wouldn't necessarily specifically speak about if marketeers should or not utilizing ChatGPT. I will say that everybody should be involved. This is something that is already adopted. It's early stages, but it's going to be very fast. So the ones that they are, the most hours you have as a usage of it in any level, whether you're an engineer, whether you're a marketeer, whether you're a business strategist or any other, it's the key to catch up on what is coming up.
But to everyone, do you think that this fallback we have either in usage or understanding AI, is it like a mindset issue, a gap in the skill set, or just pure fear of automation?
My view on this is that, especially in my domain, which is financial marketing, you have these marketing departments that are set up under a kind of autocrat at the top, whether that autocrat is the CMO or the CEO, whoever it is, there's somebody who defines how that department works. So if you have that support at the top to say, either this is your work, this is your responsibility, go ahead and do it, and then that person researches themselves, finds the right AI to use that they want to use, that's one thing. Or perhaps you have that autocrat at the top that says, we are using a massive, powerful AI software, something like Flora, and it's going to help the whole business. So there's, in my view, it's not down to the individual. I think there's super limited understanding. I totally agree, Alexis. Like, this is early. And even taking the example of Flora, it's changed so much in a matter of weeks. So it's going to be a really strong learning curve, I think, for everybody.
And to you, Raluca, you're deep in performance and data, and so what are the underused AI tools beyond ChatGPT that marketeers should really be paying attention to? I know Helen mentioned Flora.
Well, I'll build also on what Alexis said, because we're in the beginning, so there's still so much more to know. And I believe it's a kind of a process of a trial and error. You have to test. And in order to be able to recommend tools, I have to start saying that we talked until a few years ago about productivity tools. And we talk about Eisenhower matrix and so on and so forth. And there were more than 100 tools, but there's no one size fits all. So even if I will recommend, and I will say that even if you talk about Monkey Learn, and we talk about Flora, and we talk about Chat, and we talk about LLM, and we talk about so many others, I can't recommend because what works for me might not work for you, and not necessarily because those two tools are not very good, but because we are different, and still the human behaviors plays a huge role. But if I'll have just to share some general ideas, it's like I'm sure that all of you here are using ChatGPT or Gemini even to search the cheapest airplane flights or the best restaurant where I should go to eat, isn't it? We're all using that, but we can do so much more once we learn, again, learning through trial and errors. For instance, Perplexity, and I'm a big fan of Perplexity, is not just a search engine. It's actually an active research tool that can bring to you from academic research to news to reports and put you everything in such an easy way that you can take those and move them to the next level. But what's important is to never forget that you have a brain and you should use it more than just clicking a button and say, this is it, let's put it on a paper, read it at our next panel or speech and we're done. No, and not just because it's not okay and you can tell, you see the small mistakes that AI still does, but you forget your own way and your authenticity. And I'll stop here because we open another Pandora box. So
I'm taking from that you have a brain, you should use it, as a general advice to anything in life. And
is it good to use AI?
Yeah, true. And for you, Alex, from a commercial perspective, building on what Raluca just said, where do you see real AI adoption today, just beyond text generation?
Yeah, look, I thoroughly agree with all my fellow panelists here that I think AI is very much in its nascent era, so we're just seeing this really broad application across businesses of all sizes, and the application is also very general. So just to use some examples, I think when we think about development, right, so you have your cursors, you've got your co-pilots, and what's that allowing is our engineers to be very efficient and deploy code very quickly, which ultimately puts products in the hands of customers far quicker than we've previously been able to do so, which is just the general acceleration of AI as an assistant in that respect. We also have the democratization of design. I don't know if anyone here is familiar with Lovable, but it's a fantastic way of using an AI tool to create a visual representation of maybe it's a pitch or it's a marketing deck, and use that to be supportive of your sales and your commercial efforts. And then just generally speaking, right, like business optimizations internally, how do we use AI tooling to take big data sets, ingest that into systems, and then help with underwriting strategy, future planning, reconciliation. I think there's really, really broad application of AI, and I don't really see that going away. I mean, there seems to be a new business every 5 minutes that does something to a speciality perspective, but as consolidation occurs in any mature industry, I think you're going to see a lot of the leaders taking on a lot more of the supporting infrastructure and products that are currently available.
Yeah, it's clear that the AI opportunities are great, and just to paraphrase a great quote from a Marvel superhero movie, with great opportunity comes great risk. So just playing a little bit the devil's advocate here, especially considering that we do operate on a highly regulated environment within the fintech sphere, where mistakes do cost real money and real audience trust. I would like to go to you, Céline, since you have been working with regulated financial content. What do you think is your biggest fear when someone submits AI-generated text, especially in relation to remaining compliant?
The first thing that comes to mind when I think of compliance, it's like it's a gray area to navigate. You never know what you can say completely or not say. But my biggest concern, I would say, is the lack of clarity in the copy. You can submit a copy and it's clear, it conveys a certain message. But if it's not factually correct, if you haven't checked your facts, if you haven't research the difference between SISAC, FSTA, FCA. There's a lot of jurisdiction out there, and if you don't know the difference between each market you're speaking to and the target audience, and you just submit a copy to the eye, yeah, it's great. It conveys the message. We've done our part. But if compliance gets to this copy, and obviously it will raise red flags such as guaranteed returns, high profits, low risk. These terms have specifically created a lot of risk in this industry we are in. Like the financial services industry, the fintech industry is a very highly volatile industry, and we're all aware of that. So to just blindly write something and blindly count on AI to craft something is not a good practice, and I always encourage junior writers. I've been there myself, I've done mistakes, and that's how you learn. But if you're unsure about a certain thing, it's always better to ask and clarify before just putting a copy out there to the world. Because we've seen a lot of companies taking the hit just due to very small mistakes.
Do any of you ever experience real-life examples of borderline non-compliant content go out there under your supervision?
All the time. I'm in the CFD, FX, mostly business for the last 13 years. So, this is part of the story. But another important thing is that usually the market creates the drive for creating new regulatory regimes or new compliance. It's the market usually that drives compliance, so it's not the other way around. So when you have something new, when you have a new market, a new technology, and even again connecting the dots with the previous panels, discussing about from 2015 to now, to quantum eventually, which is, if we don't understand AI, that's even more difficult to comprehend even as a concept. So my point is that again, when it comes to regulation, from the business perspective, from my side at least, I would prefer to stay within the market, produce within the market, let compliance and regulation follow through and come and tell us what needs to be done and what needs to be done, and adapt. So I will be more risk averse in the sense that I would prefer to be part of the adaptability than be part of waiting until I get the direction of where I should be in order for me to produce. If it makes sense, I don't know. Makes sense from my perspective.
Can I add something to that? Because it's also important yet to know, and what I've seen from my experience that works and sometimes is good, have an external compliance officer, because sometimes the internal one might see and have basically similar thoughts and mindset with the general team, and it's always good to find the extra blind spots, things that someone might have missed, yeah? And the other one, have someone who will focus only on this, because we tend, and especially I've seen in Cyprus, we tend to mix tasks, and a compliance officer starts doing something else. Have it just for that, because when new regulation due to marketing advancement comes into place, you don't need to wait until something bad happened or until it's not mandatory, it's something that was supposed to happen yesterday. Have it at least prepare, Don't start it, but make sure that 2 minutes before you have to implement it, you're already there.
Be safe than sorry, basically. So beyond regulatory risks, using AI, I think it holds brand guidelines or characteristic or voice risks as well. So coming back to you, Alex, have you seen cases that when AI-generated content was factually correct, but completely miss the brand's warmth or human voice, or even being borderline plagiarized. Like, just do it. Open an account with us today.
Yeah, it's timely. I was reading an article this morning about a luxury brand that was getting a lot of flack online, to say the least, about some of their generated content. And I think the challenge there, and that's something that we all need to be considerate of, is this is a business, especially in that segment, that has spent decades building their brand equity with their customers, positioning the tone of voice in a very specific way. And it's easy to use these tools to very rapidly generate content, but it's the nuance which becomes very challenging, especially when everyone's using the same tool set, right? An input, the output is only going to ever be as good as the input, and crafting that to create something unique and aligning with that brand narrative is certainly very challenging. And I think, look, beauty is in the eye of the beholder. I had a look at the content. Subjectively, it did look a little bit average, relative to what that business is. And I think that's that risk, right? Businesses just now need to be very, very cautious about the messaging and the content in market because of those downstream impacts on brand, because of heritage. What is the work that we've done over decades and decades when these tools weren't available? I mean, you used your creativity, but over-reliance on AI generative tools can become very problematic very quickly.
And especially within the financial industry, I think most companies more or less sell the same product, basically. So it comes down to marketing to differentiate and capture, the audience trust or the client's loyalty. So when you tamper with that using just AI, robotic messaging out there, you tend to lose that trust. That's a real risk. And to you, Helena, from a creative angle, what do you think the risk of AI missing the mark and losing the brand voice or failing to connect emotionally is becoming more or less, content for SEO and for algorithms instead of real people, real human?
So my view on this is that, there's an expression in English, it's like a bad workman blames his tools. You know what I mean? So if you tell your wonderful AI, write me an article, but you don't tell it the length, the tone of voice, where it's going to be used, the platform, who's going to be reading it. There are 1,000 things you can tell it to make it perfect, and still you might forget something, or maybe it might hallucinate. So then what you have to do is you have to check it. So I think if you work within the realms of some kind of strategy and structure where you're feeding useful information to your, whatever it is you're using for your AI, it should then be checked to make sure that it's in line with your branding and tone of voice. But there's one other thing that I want to say on this with regards to the creativity versus being lost and all of this. The way, and I'm sure everybody here knows, in the past few weeks, months, traffic has been completely nosediving in many websites. Users are interacting differently with websites, with content. Websites are no longer a place that you go to find out information. They're more a place that you go just to get trust. So what this means for content in AI is that people are now writing stuff not for humans, but for AI, because they want to appear in the AI summaries. And for me, that I come from a comms and content background, this is my time. This is great. Because suddenly, all of these companies with the giant budgets who are appearing top of the Google search results, top on Facebook, on Insta, with all their payments that they're doing to appear so wonderfully online, now that's not in the game anymore. Now it's about the quality of your content, the ability, the way that you structure your content to get it out online in the right places, on the right websites, your backlinking strategy, all of this stuff. So I suppose just to sum up this thread somehow of what I've been trying to say is that if AI is used correctly, I think it can be amazing for content, amazing for companies using content correctly.
So you feel like, despite the fact that there is a controversy between people who think that AI is killing creativity, you believe that writing for AI to pick it up, it actually increases the creativity and that you need to be more in tune with your brand guidelines just to hit the mark, right? That's a...
Totally.
Okay, and now that we have outlined the risks, it's good to see what we can do about them, you know, as Helen has suggested. So, Raluca, what do you feel that a healthy balance between human creativity and AI efficiency looks like in practice? Like, how can it...
Again, I can build up on what Helen said. There's a talk that AI will replace humans. And I believe, and it's just my humble opinion, feel free to hate me for that if you want, you're allowed to do whatever you want, is that not AI will replace people, but people using AI will replace those not using it in the right way. I mentioned at some point you have a brain, use it. Learn how to write for AI in a way that you train AI to help you, not replace you, not remove you. Learn AI to teach you to become better, but don't stop there. Take what AI gives you and search even more. Human behavior and consumer behavior in general change to answer to the question. So I believe AI is extremely helpful, even with creativity, with bringing things that maybe you forgot or you haven't thought about, but also at accelerating tasks. The research and the fastness that AI has, we don't have it. And this is something that we should use to work for us, not against us. But I also believe that the judgment behind this should and need to be made by humans. To give a metaphorical example, AI will be able to expand the room and shows you more doors. It's up to us to choose the right door. Meaning that, yes, AI can give you a lot of scenarios, can give you a lot of ideas, can give you a lot of opinions, but he cannot understand, or he or she, whatever, cannot understand perceptions, the emotions behind that decisions, the reason why those negotiations, fintech changes happen, yeah? So if we learn how to combine and have this balance, like use it for the automation and for the fastness, and make sure that the meaningful part, it's still in our hands, if that makes sense.
I mean, we need to, sorry, I agree with all of you. And again, I have, you know, one of my legs a little bit more on the business strategy front offices, and then I have also on the more of the technology aspect. So even when I have conversations with, you know, more on the technology engineers, even Andreas, you know, sometimes I know that sometimes we'll have like sort of disagreements in some areas of the approach, but I truly believe that we should trust the human reactive mind. I've seen examples, very quick, just a small example that I've seen. I mean, one, I don't want to say the biggest private bank we have, because then it's going to be very obvious. One of the the biggest private banks we have, they had they needed to do some sort of AI statue for a museum. And I have a friend who is very into AI for years and sort of godfather in Cyprus about AI. So for some reason, AI engineers love to have also 3D printers. I don't know why. Okay, this combination, if any engineer here will know. So they created this through AI. So they were taking the prototype, and for some reason they didn't like it. So I said, nah, change it, nah. And then he decided to give it to his 11-year-old and draw something. So his 11-year-old draw something. He put it on the printer. He came and said, this is very nice. This is very high intellect, etc., etc. So my point is that even from an 11-year-old human, sometimes you see that the human intellect, the EQ, even the emotional gut, it's something that cannot be replaced, at least for now. So I truly believe that we should trust human reactive mind when it comes to marketing, when it comes to anything, about having that human intellect that differentiates brand to brand, or offering to offering, or company to company.
So there's still hope for us, And critical thinking, of course, is key to using AI. And Céline, coming back to you, working with large teams of content creators, copywriters, designers, yourself, what do you think is the human touch that AI simply cannot replace? I mean, we touch base a little bit, and how can we best prepare our workforce to use AI efficiently rather than dependently?
I want to start off by saying that I'm not against AI by any means. I use it every day in my day-to-day work, definitely. But one thing I would say is the critical thinking that my co-panelists and everyone has been talking about, obviously, because at the end of the day, humans speak to humans. So if there's a human behind the copy you're putting out there for a human to see. Yeah, definitely AI can help, but people have been craving this human connection recently, and we've seen it in our industry specifically. People are more drawn to founders who are sharing their wins, the lows, the challenges across the journey. Same for the brands. The biggest brands have, gone a bit more organic rather than robotic in a way, and there's beauty behind it. Definitely AI is here to stay. We can't shy away from it. And here comes my answer to how we prepare teams to use AI more in a more productive way, more efficiently. It's not about turning everyone into prompt wizards, definitely not, but it's about not trusting AI blindly, as I said and mentioned earlier. You can definitely tell if AI is saying something correct or not. I can give you an example. Like recently in the gold market, in the crypto market, when it crashed and everyone was losing confidence, the market sentiment was very negative. If I were to write a copy without understanding the context, without going behind what's really happening, I'm not really focusing on what happened as to why it matters to the audience you're targeting, as to why it matters to investors, to traders, or to beginners who are interested in investing, trading, and so on. We're in a very volatile industry. The more you see, the more you know, definitely. But it's all to say that you need to not trust AI blindly and still have some critical thinking, your personal judgment, and go on about your day, creating content that speaks to your audience. Obviously, if you can save time using AI, it's perfect, it's great. But at the end of the day, you're speaking to a human, and that's the element that's never gonna vanish, that's never gonna go away.
And returning to something Alexis said, it's all about EQ as well, like also cultivating the empathy and grabbing the attention of the audience, not just feeding them information where they can find anywhere. Building a brand is a very, very unique thing. And building on that, Alex, from a commercial lens as well, how do you think that when we deploy AI in marketing, we can ensure that it stays true to the core company values, to the tone of voice, to the branding? What do you think is the secret to not fall short on that?
Yeah, look, I'm going to build upon what everyone's already said. But basically, I think it's twofold, right? So it's organizational structure. I think as businesses, you need to either commit or ensure that there is very, very clear pathways and internal processes that determine how AI is going to be used. I think if one function within a company is using it and another isn't, you're just going to create challenges when it comes to consistency. And then finally, that human review element is something that can never be discounted. And we've talked about that a little bit already. And going back to the example that I provided about one of those luxury brands, I mean, things are being missed in the new world of, how do we get an enormous amount of content in front of as many people as possible in as many markets as possible, and then there's translation issues and such. But ultimately, the way that we mitigate that is by having very clear structural processes in place that there is always a human that reviews the output. And I think that going back to the previous comments is, humans do speak to humans. So if you are just generating AI, and I think they were calling it slop, which I think is just like a fantastic way of defining it, right? Because it really is, right? It's junk when you look on social media channels. It's very easy to see. Because it's clear that they don't have people looking at it and trying to determine what would the individual feel when they see this piece of content or this written bit of copy. Is that aligned with our brand guidelines and our tone of voices, which need to be very clearly and well defined, even more so now when the generation of content is so easy. So I really think it's organizational structure, and that human review element is critical.
So it is a combination of critical thinking, training the workforce, and of course, processes in place that will safeguard us from that. And just zooming a little bit more out, I would like to ask you, Alexis, do you think that AI, it can be another bubble, like another .com moment that is, or you feel that is a permanent shift in how we operate?
No, I don't consider bubble the whole. I think it's a natural reaction when you have a new technology. For example, a reference of early 2000s, the .com bubble, or even crypto, probably 6-7 years ago. I don't remember exactly. But when you have like a new technology or a new market, we tend to have also, with the fast growth, also a lot of things, a lot of noise. So I believe that is a part of the trajectory of adopting a new technology. So you will have a lot of things bloated in the sense of a lot of noise, a lot of things that are, hiding as AI. As I said at the beginning, it's not really AI. We don't know yet. AI is so broad right now, it's used every day. But again, we still don't know how to talk about it together as a unit. So I think the bubble effect is more on the noise. So a lot of things will be filtered out, and eventually it will start correcting. The market will start correct. We've seen it in the past. This is, business cycle. This is not a black swan. This is just part of the natural, introduction of a new market. So I don't consider it a bubble in that sense, because it's just something that's going to be like very, like in 5 years, doing an event and talking about AI, maybe it will be like doing an event right now and talking about internet and having a panel talking about internet. And, so I think it's a matter of time to just correct and remove the noise and have more of the true essence of what is AI and how do we apply it in our everyday lives. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with that. And Raluca, building on what Alexis said about noise, basically, do you think that as AI is truly flooding the market and the sphere of content creation in general, do you believe that human curated or human crafted content will become like a premium differentiator, and that brands that truly understand how to utilize it will differentiate themselves?
Can I add first something to what Alexis said? And what you said, I love the comparison with the bubble, and I believe it's a bubble until the next bubble comes. And we knew .com until AI came, and then we stopped using Google search and started using other, like ChatGPT, for the same thing that you use, let's say Chrome. And we're moving now towards from simple AI to agentic AI, and then we're moving to quantum. So in 5, 10, 15, 20 years, we won't talk about, like you said, we will talk about internet, we will talk about AI. We'll say ChatGPT, that was something that, well, yes, different generation, different shifts. And to go back to your question, I remember that I read at some point, and I definitely recommend you search for it. PwC got at some point a report about the 4 worlds that are happening now with the shift of AI. It's a free report, you find it online. And one of those words is that, yes, indeed, AI will replace a lot of human jobs, but still there will be the specialists, the experts that are very good at using AI, advisory, risk assessment, mitigating risk, forecasting, scenario planning, fintech, so on and so forth. For every single industry, there will be those specialists that will be able to not just keep their jobs, but be highly paid and respected. But this is up to you and up to how you use AI again, and how you use your brain and all the opportunities that we have. And someone said yesterday in a speech at a panel that make sure you make the most of AI now, because it's still cheap. It will become a lot more expensive and more difficult to use. So learn as much as you can and take advantage. But again, as humans, because there's still hope, be authentic and use it in a way to put yourself there differently. Don't use the same template, because I'm driving in Cyprus and I'm seeing 4 different brands using the same colors. And my question is, I would like to speak with those marketing agencies who are not using their EQ and IQ to put a personal touch and make sure that you will be remembered for something different. Because if you use it the same as everybody else, you can't differentiate yourself and nobody will remember We get so much information, and our attention span lately is limited. And we tend to forget, because we think of our own issues and things. And it is anyway statistically proven that someone needs to hear at least 7 times your name or about what you do until they quite remember you. So with all this information, you don't learn to be authentic and give the extra 10 miles, not just 1, you will lose. And it's up to you. It's your choice.
And coming a full circle back to you, Helen, you talked about leadership and how their role in shifting the perception of their teams is really important. So what does creative leadership looks like to you in an AI-driven world? And how does a leader inspire teams who suddenly have limitless tools?
There's a lot to break down in there. And we can start by using the word creative in the context of finance, which you already said, many of our clients are offering the same thing. It's so hard to differentiate. And I was just thinking about this just now, something a little bit depressing, which is that if I think back on the most successful campaigns that have happened, the ones that have really brought in the money to the bank, the ones that have brought in the numbers, the high quality conversions, the ones that have taken a company from zero to hero, they're not creative campaigns. They are XM's $30 bonus, or, you know, it's these kind of stuff that you put the money behind it. As I mentioned before, you put enough money behind Google, you have a team, you have a structure, you organized, and you can take your campaign global, and you can bring really good results in. So when it comes to creativity, I think I'm thinking about another example now. Has anyone seen FX Pro's social media recently? They do some really fun stuff with AI. Have you seen? There's like a deer sitting in an armchair talking about finance. And this is the stuff that it's fun, it's divisive, but it's not bringing the money in. So in sum, AI will not bring the money in. AI is not for creativity, in my view. It's always going to be down to the leader of that team, pushing that team forward with new, original, interesting ideas. AI is not for that. AI is for efficiency, data, research, using an AI tool to multiply your banners in 1,000 different shapes instead of hiring an intern to do it, or you know, making your team really, really efficient. So that's its role, in my view, which is optimistic for marketers and pessimistic for creative people, but it is what it is. And let's see how it evolves. I don't believe it will ever be really prompting that creative input, which always leaves room for that human to lead that team.
I think that most people have stuck in their heads that AI will replace the workforce or will replace human at some point. But I think what we can all agree here is that it's not human versus AI. I think it's humans with AI and learning how to work with it efficiently. And I think on that point, I would like all of you to put in your 2 cents on AI or not. What do you think AI should or could never replace in marketing?
Going by order? Sure. Okay. Reasoning. Okay. So, yeah, I'm not sure I agree with the last statement in the sense that I think, and sorry to anyone, but I truly believe that due to the economy of scale, at least for me as a business owner, the way I applied in answering your last question, I will have, let's say, a head of marketing. I do have a head of marketing, for example, CMO. It doesn't matter who is the creative human perspective that we all agree. I still agree on that. But when I see numbers and I just need to focus on numbers and effectiveness and growth, building, let's say, 10 different LLM models that will replace execution, not creativity, but execution. That means I give the opportunity to head of marketing leading a team of 10 people that they can execute and create at any moment a lot of content, which can be, of course, can be then modified or applied in a way where you keep your brand identity, you keep your brand book, you keep your creative marketing strategies. But the advice, I don't know if it's advice, but because I'm not a marketeer exactly, so to marketeers or to young marketeers, the way I see it is going back to the word usage, the first word you said. I think they should be very involved when it comes to AI, third-party, softwares or services that they are implementing, knowing how to connect them together, because eventually the asset from the human capital perspective would be hiring someone that he comes with a team, but the team is not. It's AI generated, or it's fewer people. It's a combination. It's a hybrid model, because obviously you're saving money and you are producing much more productivity without replacing the creative mindset. But I'm pretty sure it's going to replace a lot of workforce when it comes to execution, not only for marketing in general, and it's inevitable. So what do? It's better to keep our intellect, which is something that we have for now, at least on our benefit against the AI. But we need to have flying hours. We need to be involved. We need to know what's going on. You need to have higher literacy when it comes to AI in general, the languages, everything, in order for you to be relevant, in order for you to be able to adapt in the new realities.
Well, yeah, just last round. I've started to feel like the boogeyman every time. Every time the moderator sees me, goes through panic mode. Okay, just one last round.
From my end, I keep circling back to the same thing, which is the human element, the human mind, and the human feel. But one thing I would like to add before closing is that to any content person, creative, or whatever it is, your content is your reputation. And if you use ChatGPT solely or any other AI tool just to generate your content, then your reputation is tarnished, so is your content, so is the company you're working for, whether you're an independent writer, freelancer, or like contractor, or whatever it is. Remember that your content is your reputation, and you need to be very careful in how you perceive the way you see like the financial markets, but also how you put it out there to the world.
Yeah, I think for me it's brand identity. I think good businesses will be created using ChatGPT prompts and such to create, who they are and what they do and how they operate. But I don't think great ones are going to be. I just feel there's, again, that human element which is required in order to create. What is your tone of voice? How do you cut through with your counterparts? How do we differentiate in what is, by and large, any market's pretty saturated, right? It's very hard to be or create new markets and such. So I think brand identity is something that will not be replaceable.
I think the thing that should never be replaced is quality assurance. So whatever you use AI for, that there's somebody checking it at the end.
For me, accountability, because you need to be responsible how you use it, if you share or not, and you shouldn't, sensitive data. Make sure that, like Céline said, with your brand and how you put it out there, because again, it's up to you. How do you want to promote it? So being accountable, but I believe this should be something that marketing strategy, regardless, shouldn't be missed.
Thank you very much, everybody.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.